Hello and a very warm welcome to the brand new edition of Policy Watch. I'm Kriti Mishra. The government has approved a 10,000 crore rupee program under the FAME-2 scheme for promotion of electric vehicles in India. The scheme is aimed at encouraging faster adoption of electric and hybrid vehicles by the way of offering upfront incentive on purchase of electric vehicles and also by way of establishing necessary charging infrastructure for EV. Then came the GST reduction on EVs from 12% to 5%. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in Union Budget announced additional income tax deduction of 1.5 lakh rupees on interest paid on loans taken to buy electric vehicles. The government has also underlined the plans to make India a global manufacturing hub for EVs. And to get deeper insights on the topic, I'm joined by Akshama Tejas Khate, Principal, Rocky Mountain Institute, Mr. Abhishek Saxena, Team Member, EV, Niti Aayog, and Mr. Arun Malhotra, Auto Industry Expert. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, all of you. And Abhishek, let me come to you first. As we bid adieu to year 2019, are we right in saying that year 2019 was the year of EVs?
I think you're absolutely correct in saying that 2019 was actually the year of EVs. There has been a lot of talk and discussions around what EVs should be and how the landscape should change, especially the transportation landscape. We've seen how EVs are helpful in reducing our pollution in our cities, reducing greenhouse emissions. So in 2019, if you look at how EVs actually transformed India, it's a very good stat that we have seen. More than 7.5 lakh electric vehicles were sold in India. Majority of them were three-wheelers essentially. We've seen some traction in two-wheelers and in four-wheelers. You've already mentioned about the steps that government has already taken regarding FAME-2 or GST reduction or income tax reduction. But we've taken around 15 to 20 steps for the promotion of electric vehicle in the country and setting up that framework of electric vehicle in the nation. So this includes permit waiver for electric vehicles. So you see, as of now, India is the largest electric vehicle market of the world. You will be surprised to know that we have more electric vehicles than China, which is primarily driven by electric rickshaws. So we have around 1.5 million, closer to 15 lakh electric rickshaws in India. These were primarily driven by the permit waiver that we offered. So electric three-wheeler rickshaw essentially are kept out of the ambit of the permit waiver. We've reduced registration. We have made the registration fees to zero. We have asked states to reduce the road tax. There's a green number plate for EVs. So all these steps, along with multiple others like reduction of customs duties and inclusion of EVs as a mandate for government officials. So these are something that we have come up with, and 2019 I'm sure that would be the year, and it is going to be a landmark in a way that it sets up the ball rolling for electric mobility transformation in the country.
Absolutely. So 2019 would be remembered as a landmark year for promotion of EVs. Yes. But talking about the challenges, and Arun, there are challenges as far as affordability of electric vehicles is concerned, or even the charging infrastructure.
I think as I highlighted just now, the steps taken by government are commendable. I think the challenge today at the moment will be in 2020, when we come to next year, how well we are able to implement what we have announced. You talked of I think the biggest challenge still remains is not the range anxiety, the reach anxiety, the infrastructure on charging. Frankly, we have hardly any charging infrastructure in public space. In a city like Delhi, I don't know, there were 50, 100 or this thing. So that is the biggest challenge area. Until that action is taken, the confidence which it is required to inspire in customers' mind will remain a question. So that's an area which has to be focused on. In terms of price, I think a lot of actions have been taken, whether in terms of excise, whether in terms of FAME-2 policy, and also now steps being taken in terms of benefits which we are giving in terms of road tax and other things. So that's a good step in that direction. So that is an area we are moving ahead. And I think what's happening very positively from the industry side, a lot of mass auto players who were sitting on the fence for a long time have actually announced and actually are releasing or actually launching EVs products. Now, they may be small in numbers, but that's, I think, a major change. I see it as an inflection point. But as the saying would say, Delhi abhi bhi dur hai. It's a long, long way to go. We need to implement. And one challenge I think still remains is whatever we announce, how speed we are able to implement. The FAME 2 policy, commendable, but still taking 3 months' time. The benefit of the FAME 2 policy, the money to go. We need to make our process more simpler, this thing. The other element which I think is important is our government is constrained. It will be constrained in a country like India because of budgets, but we have to think out of the box, certain factors which are non-monetary in nature, which a lot of countries try. Can we think of parking being free in zones which are very expensive or committed parking locations? And this could be a mandate from the government, and this could happen immediately. Or even on highways, if you have when you have to cross tolls, can we see some reimbursement of toll tax? Once we take these steps, which don't really impact the budget, which are more delight factors, or they are factors which you punish or you cajole people to the right side, I think it will be a faster process.
You made a very important point. Delhi abhi dur hai, but we have to ensure that Delhi dur na ho. And Akshima, for that, manufacturing is of paramount importance. How do we ensure that India becomes a hub of EV manufacturing?
I think what the industry is looking at, and in that industry ecosystem, I would put also the startups, I think, which is a great win-win that we've seen in the last year or so, more than that, is that there is a lot of momentum that is building up in terms of looking at manufacturing EVs and EV components and the whole ecosystem, EVSE infrastructure. So what the industry definitely is looking at is demand assurance. They want confidence that there will be enough demand for their investments to pay back. So to some extent, what we've seen happening in 2019, I would say even beyond central action, a lot of momentum building up in states. I think all of that is kind of hinting towards that demand assurance. So I think to begin with, that's essentially what industry would look at. The second thing which is very critical is that what we need to also do is consumer awareness and understanding that consumer understands the technology and accepts the technology. I think the more and more we would make it happen, make it visible, again it kind of gives an assurance to the industry that the demand will pick up in the near future. The other thing I want to mention is that a typical thing you mentioned about affordability, how to make EVs affordable. I think it's not so much about affordability, because when we pick up different segments, affordability would mean different things. If I was to pick commercial cars, for example, they're already at cost parity. If you look at total cost of ownership, I am able to get the payback with the current subsidy regime. If I look at an auto rickshaw, the cost parity is almost there. So I think it's not so much now about affordability, it's about pushing the right segments where EVs can be adopted far more early. We have to target those segments, create that awareness, and ensure a policy push that gives enough confidence and assurance to the industry that this is the kind of a right place to make investments.
We'll talk about awareness in just a bit, but you've made a very important point about startups. Abhishek, Niti Aayog works very closely with the startups. How are the startups driving India's EV ambition?
So I think the revolution or the electric mobility transformation that you see is primarily driven by the startups as of now. So you see more than 100 vehicles being homologated. You have new players like Ather, Okinawa, all Hero Ecotech coming into picture and delivering two-wheelers. You have more than 100 manufacturers of electric three-wheelers as of now. So when we talk about that electric mobility landscape, I think we should not restrict ourselves to especially quote-unquote electric cars, as was seen in probably US or European countries. We have a very different landscape in terms of, we have the 3/4 of our production of our vehicles are electric two-wheelers. A large population moves through buses and electric three-wheelers. So the focus that the government of India has is on electrification of two-wheelers, three-wheelers and buses. So we are primarily looking at easing mobility in those areas and making those cleaner or zero emission as we talk about. Startups have actually taken the lead not only in India, it is across the world. So and the ripple effect you can see in India. You have new age startups like Ather or Okinawa coming into picture and delivering mass acceptable products. So they are bringing innovation. So the electric mobility is not only electric mobility per se, it is also smart and connected mobility. So the startup ecosystem and their agile methodology of working is more adept to coming up with these new innovations. So you have Revolt, you have Ather. So all these are connected vehicles, more than electric vehicles also. So that is something, the vehicle of tomorrow that we are talking about. It will be shared, it will be connected, and it will be zero emission. So the startups are actually very rightly placed to drive this revolution forward.
And of course, innovation is the key.
Innovation is the primary driver for that. So all the legacy organizations or the legacy OEMs have done innovation in internal combustion engines. Now the landscape is completely changed. You have 20 products instead of 2000 products, right, in an electric vehicle. The mechanics has completely changed. The electric vehicle is more of a computer than an automobile as of today. It has more than 50% value addition of electronic components. So you have IT, you have electronics, you have automobile coming in convergence at startups and delivering those smart products that the consumer actually wants. So that is the innovation driven model that they are being focused on.
We have to be sensitive about the demands of the consumers. And Akshama made a very important point, Arun, that we have to make our consumers aware. How do we do that?
Consumers, the anxiety of consumers, one is the initial cost, and I think, as rightly mentioned by Ashima, as far as in the public space, when we're talking of three-wheelers or even buses, there is clearly a business case for it. But I think from customer point of view, let's take two-wheeler as example, the anxiety on range and the anxiety on reassurance is a very important part. Till date, I have not seen a single ad or a single communication that in Delhi, in public space, these are the charging locations in North Delhi, West Delhi, South Delhi, East Delhi. Now, how do I get a confidence? If you have a charging station inside a government building, it's not for public space. So that's one area. Second, I think the benefits have come at number of times. Fame benefit, income tax benefit, excise benefit, how we can package it together and have a mass awareness campaign. That will make a big difference. I sincerely believe what Mr. Saxena says, that the challenge and the focus of the government, which is correctly, has to be on three-wheelers or also on clearly in buses and in two-wheelers. That's where the change has to come. But what is very important is, where the change has not come yet and is required is the individual buyer. And I'm not focusing on cars, I'm focusing on two-wheelers.
Right.
We still have a large market. We still sell about 18 lakh two-wheelers a month. How much are we selling? Let's be very frank. EVs, hardly about 7,000 to 8,000 a month. And that even is slightly doubtful. The other challenge which I think is important is a lot of fly-by-night operators have jumped into the bandwagon.
Right.
And they are basically importing junk Chinese technology, just assembling them here. So we have to differentiate the wheat and the chaff. It shouldn't happen that we become a dumping ground for outdated Chinese. Startups have been there, good. So somehow the government policy also has to focus on indigenization in a very unique method. It should not happen that we become, rather for the import bill, on the other side we have the import bill from China. It shouldn't become that way. Although we need that technology. We should not become
a dumping ground. But
we should not become a dumping ground.
China is the largest market for EVs, followed by Europe and US. Of course, Norway is the global leader in terms of market share. How do we become competitive?
I think we don't have to compete globally. We have enough market within India. And, you know, one thing we have to recognize, whether it's a China or a Norway, the way electrification will happen in India will be certainly very different from how it has happened globally. I mean, globally, we've seen passenger vehicles being the focus, China to some extent, two-wheelers as well. But India will be very different. And I think rightly pointed out earlier, India is going to be essentially an electric three-wheeler, two-wheeler market when we look at, you know, early adoption, say for the next 5-6 years. And India is going to be an electric bus market because the kind of attention government is giving to it. And I think the basic principle there is absolutely right, because if I am putting in public funds or public money out there to incentivize a new cleaner technology, let me put it on a mode of transportation which is actually serving the masses. Right. I think that's the really point. I mean, that's a real principle that, you know, works there. So I would see it, you know, in India, you know, becoming competitive internally, that how these 3-4 modes of transportation, which have the huge potential of picking up, become competitive, whether it is the, you know, the technology, whether the products, how we kind of, make Are current STUs kind of responsive to the change that they have from a transition from current diesel CNG buses to electric buses? So there is a lot of homework we need to do internally just to make this happen. But on that note, I think one good thing, you know, again going back to your starting statement, that it's been a great year for EVs. What we have seen is that government, while it's thinking of creating demand, making vehicles affordable and all of that, one good thing that we are also seeing is that there is a lot of kind of focus on ensuring that you know, we are promoting domestic manufacturing, whether it is batteries. So, you know, last budget you saw that battery manufacturing is seen as a sunrise industry, yes, where India has a huge opportunity. So I think those are the areas where India will have to focus and invest to ensure that in future what we're producing products, a large part of it is, you know, made in India, and it is competitive, it is suited to the local conditions, the ambient weather conditions. So I think within India, I would say we have the way forward essentially is to make in India EV products, make them for India, and the use patterns and use cases that India is likely to see and support.
You've talked about ambient temperature, and I'd like to understand, Abhishek, does ambient temperature impact the battery life?
Okay, so I'll answer that question, but let me get back to a couple of comments regarding the need for charging infrastructure and domestic manufacturing.
Please go
ahead. If I talk about domestic manufacturing, I think we are very sure and we are very confident that it should not only for make in India, but make for the world. So we need to be globally competitive. Otherwise, what will happen is we'll be an importing nation throughout. So in lot of we have lost the race in telecom, we have lost the race in electronics, we have lost the race in mobiles. So we don't want that to happen in electric vehicles. So I think we need to be globally competitive. That should be our strategy going forward. Now, having said that, we are totally cognizant of this fact, and we've put in a place phased manufacturing program where the demand incentive is actually linked to your domestic manufacturing. So until and unless you manufacture the components in India, you won't be eligible for the demand subsidy. So that is how we are linking manufacturing in India to the electric vehicles per se. Now, having made that point, the second point that is raised is regarding the charging infrastructure. See, there is no two ways, there is no doubt that we require charging infrastructure in public places, absolutely, period. But the demand or the requirement of charging infrastructure in India is much less than, let's say, in a Norway, or you're talking about Europe or US, which are primarily car-driven economies. Every person drives a car, you have car ownership of somewhere in 900 per thousand people, 800 per thousand people. Now, here in India, it is primarily a two-wheeler driven economy. So, which primarily, so you've seen the three-wheeler revolution. So, three-wheelers, I recently had a visit to Assam. There are riverine islands which have limited electric grid connectivity. There the three-wheeler electric rickshaw are plying. So there are different models of charging infrastructures like battery swapping, you have home charging which are coming up. So in India the demand is, I would not say it's not there. We have already earmarked 1,000 crores in FAME for setting up of charging infrastructure. But the primary focus areas of two-wheelers, three-wheelers are primarily would be home charge, and there are innovative models coming up. So I don't think so we need to be that much worried about charging infrastructure, and as and when that comes up, OEMs are actually setting up charging infrastructure of their own, and they would be setting up. So it's not a I would say a impediment moving towards the electric vehicles. So we would need it, and government and industry are actually taking up steps on that. Now, coming back to your question on ambient temperature for battery. See, battery as of now is continuously evolving throughout the world. So you have at this point of time lithium ion. Supreme Court was talking about fuel cell batteries and exploring partnerships with Japan. You have something called a lithium phosphate. You have something called aluminium air. So it is continuously evolving, and it is very rightly that, you know, for the Indian conditions, not only temperature, there are different factors also. So there are grid connectivity factors. you have to adapt them and adapt them well suited to Indian conditions. And there, I think the industry has to come up and say that we need to put in a lot of R&D efforts into developing batteries which are indigenous and which suit the Indian conditions. So you have temperatures going to 40, 45 in India, and the electric revolution primarily has taken place, the countries you mentioned about US, Europe, where the temperatures are the colder countries.
Right.
So in India, you have to adapt them and you have to domestically manufacture and see which technology actually fits best for India. And that, with the scale and size, I think industry is coming forward. And you talked about startups, and there is a lot of focus on driving innovation for India. So I think for India and for countries, we can become a global hub of manufacturing for electric vehicle and be an exporting nation for electric vehicle. I think that is the focus we are working towards.
And for which research and development would be very crucial. But Arun, there's another important aspect of policy. Now, 11 states have either issued or proposed to have EV policy. How do we adopt a cohesive approach?
So that's a federal structure like ours. Every state is making announcements. I think there is a need at the moment to have a national policy. If a state wants to do something extra beyond the national policy, they are willing. And a number of states have rushed to announce policies. I don't want to name states, but some of the states have announced policies. Nothing has happened on ground. So somehow we need a national policy more than state policy. If a state government wants to take something else step, they're free to do it, because that's going to be an important part. And a lot of actions have to happen at the local level, whether in terms of parking, whether in terms of charging, whether in terms of special benefits, special sweeteners. So it's a state subject, and there where we should have some guideline or an approach which we recommend to states. So one is you have mandate certain things, there's a national policy. I don't think we can work on this state-wise policy. This is creating a lot of confusion, because even in clarity and communication, it's not there. Delhi has a great policy, always had a great policy, and even in CNG. Now it's got announced a very beautiful policy, but in some state may not, neighboring state may not have it. So that's, I think there's one India approach has to be taken as far as demand is concerned. The second point, I think, is that customer education or customer awareness. And can we have all possible FAQs? People who are stopping, say, I don't want to buy EV because of this. Rather answering, EV is good for this reason, but these are the 20 challenges. For each of the problem, we have a solution and we can work on a solution. Because it cannot be just a top-down approach. It has to be bottoms-up approach. And this interaction of customers, because ultimately customers have to take a decision.
Right.
We may do anything. If the customer is not willing to buy, they're not willing to buy. So how is customers, because there are a lot of conceptions or perceptions which are maybe logical or maybe illogical in customers' mind. We have to go into that even. Not only rational, some irrational points also. So that's why I think it's a lot of collaborative approach. Customers, industry bodies, governments, state governments, Niti Aayog, a lot of cohesive action has to happen. It's happening. But I think we need to me, 2019, as mentioned, was the year of EV. But I would say 2020 will be the year of reckoning. Whatever we have announced, what we have rolled on the ground, and we should measure it. We shouldn't be afraid to measure it. Because what you cannot measure, you cannot improve on. That's the approach we like to take.
So 2019 was the year of planning, and 2020 would be the year of implementation. On that note, thank you so much for joining us on this panel. So India is all set to realize its EV dream. That's all we had for you in this edition of Policy Watch. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.